Alright, yesterday I started the video, showed you the KTM, had the relay that had been wired in there and some kind of sloppy wiring done to it. So today what we're going to do is, I thought it might be a good idea to show how to solder some wires together, use some shrink tubing, have a more professional look, because you can use like a lot of the connectors they use for like these little deals right here. And you know, these things are okay, you can use them, you can't actually get a really good connection with them. Sometimes you have to use these little spade connectors because you're connecting to something that's got a flat spade on it or a male spade, and you need to be able to push the two of them together like that. Sometimes you have to do that, but in this case we really don't need to. We're going to, there's not an existing set of spade connectors in there, so what we're going to do is put our own connector in. Well, the first thing is you need a couple of tools to do this, and here's just a basic pair of wire cutters. I like these because I do use crimps, and these have a nice little insulated and uninsulated crimp. They've got a little wire cutter spot on them. They have a place on the back where you can peel the sheath off the wire, and you can just stick it in here, find the one that's the right size, give it a little twist, pull the wire off like that, and then you get, you know, a nice little cleaned off wire piece. I'm not a super big fan of this style because sometimes it'll cut the wires also. So what I prefer to use is, we'll cut that off right there. I like to use this style, which you put the wire in there and it holds the wire, the sheathing, the plastic part, and then does a light cut and just pops this plastic piece off of the wire without damaging any of the wires. So you get that nice little bit right there. And if you were going to use like a spade connector, you just slip it in, take your crimp pliers, crimp it down nice and tight, and you can, you know, that makes a decent connection. But we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to solder this thing together. So to solder, you need something like this. This is a Weller soldering gun. These things are great. They get super hot super fast. The downside of them is they also get super hot super fast. So you have to be kind of careful with them if you're working on something that's really delicate, or it's got some electronics behind it, you're working on a computer control or something like that. These things get hot really fast. This copper wire transmits heat. It'll transmit it right into that part. It might screw up a connection in there or something like that. For that, you want to use a soldering pencil or a classic soldering iron that has like an adjustable temp on it. But this is going to be perfect for doing wiring. And we also have this, which this is rosin core solder. You want to use, I just got this from Radio Shack. You want to use rosin core when you're doing wires, not acid core. The acid core will start to corrode the wires afterwards, and then you've got a problem. So we're going to be using that. So we're going to heat up our soldering gun here, and I like to get it heated up, and then it's probably been a while since the last time you used it. So you want to clean off that as soon as it gets hot enough. You want to clean off this old solder. There it goes right there. And then we'll just put a little bit of fresh on there. Okay, all right, that's all ready. Okay, so we have this. This came from JDM Toy. This is a 2-pin LED flasher unit, which is for those LED turn signals that are on a lot of motorcycles and cars, or aftermarket on them right now. And it does not have a brand name on it anywhere, so you know that that's the symbol of quality right there. So we're just going to cut both of these wires, and I'm going to take this little piece of plastic tubing off and cut it back just a little bit here, like that. I'm going to put our tubing back on. Okay, and then we're going to use this. These are awesome. This is I think this is a GM style, but this is a sealed connector. It's got a little rubber boot on it. This is a 2-pin. You can get these in all different configurations, but pretty much any even number you want, up to probably I think about 12 or so. And it's they're very tight fit. They have a lock that won't come back apart. It's going to be perfect for that. So let's take that apart right there. We're going to use the female half on this. So we want to trim our wires back a little bit here, like that. Give them a little twist together, like this. And of course, in a real pinch, you can use a electrical tape. There it is right there. But we're not going to use electrical tape for this purpose, because that's just really something in a pinch you can use electrical tape. Now what I want to do is I'm going to keep the colors the same. In this case we're doing a KTM, and KTM is for whatever reason, they use brown as a ground color, while just about everybody else uses black as a ground color. So, but anyway, so we're going to put this like this, and then we're going to, let's see here, we're going to hook our tube, and we put, this is shrink tubing, put some shrink tubing on here. We're going to take our shrink tubing, and we're going to connect our two black wires. And I just want to twist them together pretty good like that. And then I'm going to use this little gadget, $4 from Harbor Freight. Hold on to my wire, get my gun hot, heat the gun up. And what you want to do is, some people hold the tip of the soldering iron to the material and then put the solder into the soldering iron. But what you really want to do is put the soldering iron on one side and put the solder on the other side, and then you know it's wicked right through. And you want to, don't touch it or pull on it until it's had a chance to cool off just a little bit, because what can happen is you'll get what's called a cold joint, and it won't flow electricity very well. Alright, I'm going to trim off this little bit right here. I'm going to fold this over. Then we'll take our, get them to come out, there we go. I'm going to take our shrink wrap and put that over there like that. Now you can do shrink wrap with one of these. Let's move this out of the way. One of these. This is a heat gun. This thing will blow up to about 1200 degrees, so you got to be super careful with it because it sets stuff on fire. So I'm not going to do that. I like the pinpoint control of the, who made this? Scripto cigarette lighter. So we're just going to heat this up carefully like that. This kind of really allows you to keep it from getting too hot like that. Now we've got one. And then we're going to go and do this other one right here. Same thing, twist it together. Got our little cheap holder right there. Heat up our soldering gun. And eventually it'll warm up. There we go, like that. And you don't want to put it on there any longer than you have to, because it is going to transmit heat. In this case, like I said, it's not that big a deal because these parts are pretty far away from where the heat source is. And we're going to trim that little piece off the tip there. Like that, fold it over. And then put our other piece of shrink tubing on here. Maybe. Look at this. I like the shrink tubing. It comes in all kinds of sizes and gives you a much cleaner, more professional look when you get done. And so you have that. That looks a lot better. You have nice, your wires are protected. And it looks pretty good. You've got this thing, so when you go to put it in, you can install it quickly. If you need to take it off, you can just unplug it, pop this apart real quick, and that works pretty great. It's like, that's really the best way. Like I said, you know, you can use these if you have to. These crimp connectors, they do work okay. And in a pinch, you know, if you really got to, you can take your little wire and if you do it this way, you want to give yourself a little bit of extra wire there. If you need to hook two pieces of wire together in a pinch, just twisting them together and then putting your quality electrical tape on there like that. That does work. Of course, what's going to happen in about 6 months, you're going to have these little flags blowing in the wind. And that just doesn't look good. You don't want that look. So that's that.